Hello everyone and welcome to today's Stocks and Crypto YouTube Charts video. I am NoFOMO Charts. Today is Friday, March 13, 2026. It's about 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at night here in the USA. Welcome everyone. This is a swing trading and investing YouTube Charts channel. This upcoming week for stock earnings releases, we have earnings coming out of Dollar Tree, Oklo, Macy's, Micron, FedEx, and Carnival Corporation. Economic data, we have PPI, inflation data, FOMC statement, press conference, economic projections, and the federal funds rate will be on Wednesday, March 18th. That's probably the most important, one of the most important data points next week. So last week, the economic data, CPI was flat, met expectations. Core PCE price index was also flat, 0.4%, met expectations. Preliminary GDP actually decreased. The growth decreased, only grew 0.7% versus 1.4% estimate. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Today, President Trump's administration announced a four-step tariff refund plan that could be ready for USA companies later this spring. A claim portal, a mass processing step, a review of refund findings, and a final electronic refund back to corporate bank accounts could occur later this spring for certain companies, eligible companies. However, the Trump administration also laid the groundwork for other new permanent tariffs this summer on dozens of other countries. So there's that potential tariff refund for USA companies. Today, we will go over stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies. Let's start off with stocks. SPY, S&P 500 ETF. Last week, I pointed out this bearish price pattern, head and shoulders. We actually hit that target perfectly. The measured move was about 1.5 to 2%, and we actually hit 3%, which is great. Also want to point out, were there any warning signs? There were. We were getting rejected under resistance 1, resistance 698. 3 weeks to 4 weeks in a row. Once we lose the EMA, once we lose the neckline, then we're pulling back. RSI for weekly is actually a neutral range, and the stochastic RSI is oversold on a weekly chart. Daily chart still fading down, downtrending in the price. RSI is not oversold yet. 4-hour chart, they're starting to, now we're getting intraday, starting to see early signs of bullish divergence. Hourly chart, I'm also seeing potential signs of temporary support. We're on the weekend right now, so we have to see when futures opens and if there's any news this weekend into Monday. But there's a potential chance of a bullish bounce reversal, because if there's any good news that comes out, we can already see some of the squeeze in the MACD histograms, stochastic RSI getting oversold on an hourly. And 15-minute, we're seeing some of that bullish momentum. I'm talking very small bounce. This is not the ultimate reversal, maybe 0.5% to 1%, which is quite a lot, but it remains to be seen. That's the intraday setup that I'm seeing. But longer term, looks like it wants to target 657 down to 650 range before there's a larger reversal. QQQ, NASDAQ ETF, also got rejected below the double top of 635 resistance. Lost the support of the wedge. That measured move should have been about negative 2.59%, which would take us to about 586 area. So tech stocks, because they're blue chip stocks, mostly They're probably going to hold this consolidation range unless something serious happens. So I'm expecting some kind of support around 589. The daily chart, a little bit of momentum building on the oscillators. The price hitting that little bit of that lower high. So if we get bearish continuation, you can see that downside move. 4 hour RSI is not oversold, but the stochastic RSI is oversold. 1 hour, starting to get that hourly death cross. Once we get that double bottom on stochastic RSI and RSI, it looks like maybe in the pre-market we might fall down and then some algorithms might take profit. That's what it feels like on the charts to me. But again, any breaking news can change that setup. Dow Jones, much stronger pullback. Wow, the lower high and the lower lows. Straight to the target. Kind of impressive, actually, that technical analysis works so well. Let's look on the bright side here. Even though we had a massive pullback on Dow Jones, DIA, ETF, RSI is oversold. Stochastic RSI will stay down like this when it's in a downtrend. I do like to pull up the V-stop sometimes in super trend, sometimes just to check what's going on. Bollinger Band. We are outside of that linear regression, so I'm expecting some kind of bounce just from a technical standpoint, algorithmic. We are in the 4 hour downtrend, but I'm liking that if it crashes one more time, again, in the next maybe 3 or 5 days, it's probably going to get oversold to the level where algorithms will just let go, unless the news is extremely bad. But I'm already seeing on the hourly a little bit of bullish momentum. Sometimes we get the short squeeze. The most immediate time this happened, it was about 2.5% to 1%. So maybe somewhere like a 1.75% move. Would that be? Take us to about 471 to about 473. And I recently read a social media article saying that we are in extreme fear, not extreme, but we're in pretty fear mode on the fear and greed index for both stocks and crypto. Pretty fearful in the market, but we could get that bounce. Small caps, or actually Russell 2000 ETF, not just small caps, but Russell 2000 ETF had that double top resistance below 265. That measured move was 2.5%. We hit double the target. So once we hit double the target, RSI is not completely oversold yet on the daily, but the 4 hours just beginning to get to that death cross range. So the way I'm going to interpret this is there could be a potential short-term fast bounce setup, because this could be our double bottom above 246 just for a trade to try to see if it goes up to 254. Longer term, however, if this is the real death cross for both hourly and 4 hour, even though there's a little bit of momentum, it could bounce up, dead cat bounce, and then crash further. So this is not the greatest time to invest. It's getting close though, because once we hit that 200 EMA zone, which is very close, if there's any bullish reversal, the market could just rejoice for that. And then any hedge funds or institutions, unfortunately, or retail traders who went short will have to close their position. So it is not the end of the market. I know it sounds scary, but I personally do not think it's the end of the market, because we still have upcoming earnings in a couple months. So the data that we're about to get, inflation data plus earnings, if it's actually good, we could have a bounce. There's still room, because once it gets oversold, that's when everybody gets scared, and then we could get that bullish news reversal that's potential. However, if all indexes death crossed, that would be worse. That would be much worse than what we're seeing right now. This pullback into a 200 EMA daily support or a 50 EMA weekly support is actually a pretty decent potential setup. All right, I'll move faster here. Let's go to oil. Oil, because of Middle East conflict and supply demand problems. We had that golden cross on February 3rd, 2026. That was over 1 month ago, and it's making higher highs, higher lows. But so what happened this past week is when we had some of that switching kind of news in terms of the war is going to end. Actually, the war is not going to end. Actually, and then actually we're going to have maybe developments in the next 2 weeks. That's why people and the technicals. I traded this, had a pretty decent trade, and then I closed. So I still took my profit. I didn't play the second trade because I was trading other things in the market. But what it looks like right now, the daily chart, this is how I'm going to interpret this. Whenever you get a runner like this, are we breaking out to higher highs? Sunday night futures opens, Monday morning, are we going to gap up here? Are we going to have a breakout above 122, 123? RSI is high, but it's trending. So trend is more important than the RSI. But once we get some kind of, this is a weekly hanging man, which is actually not good. But once we get some kind of double top setup, either in the market or a lower high or something like that, like this, maybe that's when this rally will end. It could end very quickly, right? If there's like a development in 1 or 2 weeks, and then oil could pull back. So we're just watching to see. The daily chart is not the most reliable for the trend. 15-minute, 1 hour is actually better for this. And we're still in the uptrend. There is actually this 1 hour upside down hit and shoulders that broke bullish, and we hit the first target. Also, another way to play this, if someone really wants to play this, is playing the trend line support, which in the post market, we actually fell down below that support line, but it remains to be seen if we hold that into next week. Obviously a very hot trade. Natural gas did not have that much of a bullish response because it's a different asset technically. It's not the same as oil, but gasoline, UGA, gasoline fund also had that nice breakout. UGA does not have that much volume, and last time I checked was not extended hour eligible by exchange, but gasoline did have that same bullish reaction as oil, USO. We are seeing that double top here in the RSI, or I am seeing that pivots way high, weekly chart, hanging man candle. It is outside of the Bollinger Band linear regression zone, so that's why I'm being cautious on oil. I'm not trying to hold it for too long. It hit my target and then I was just out. That's just me doing a medium term trade. I'm not trying to invest in USO. So let's go to gold. A lot of drawings on the chart. I'll try to keep this simple for gold. Are we making higher highs and higher lows in the price? My answer would be long-term, yes. Short-term, so long-term still yes, but short-term, no. And there's this potential head and shoulders right here on the chart, but it would have been more scary if it was up here in the sky, but it's right above the EMAs on a daily chart, 26 EMA. So I'll take conservative. It could drop, gold could drop -4%. However, it's a big if. We have to lose the neckline, which we sort of did. It's a slanted diagonal. It's not the perfect setup. We lost that pivot point. So I would say momentum here for this 4 hour is showing that it could pull back a little bit more. Hourly is death cross. It's also almost similar to SPY, S&P. The RSI in this oversold range. So maybe a little drop and then a bounce to make that trend. We're just watching out now to see, will the EMA rejections keep getting shorted down? That's what I'm trying to look for. Silver, SLV losing momentum because I think obviously we're just rotating out of we're rotating out of precious metals, rotating into trading oil and gasoline, and silver just kind of losing that sparkle and momentum and the sentiment right now. Ugly trade. ugly trade. Weekly, I was showing this last week. Beware of this potential lower high rejection below 85. That is not good to see on the charts. And if we lose $71, I'm expecting this to go all the way back down to $60. Rewinding to gold weekly chart, it's not exactly the same, but still gold is was outside of that last week, that upper linear regression. Silver was outside of that, and somebody shorted that down. So if it's going to mean revert back to the inside here, the linear regression, that's why there's that $60 target on silver. Let's move on. Let's go to crypto. Crypto total market cap. Traders using crypto and Bitcoin and the top 5 altcoins as a hedge right now, because when we look at a lot of the market, stocks, ETFs, and then I come to crypto, crypto already had its crash. So this might not be the bottom of the market. Now crypto bounced up and it's only down negative 40% from its all-time high back in October 2025. But on this weekly chart, why I like it is we finally got that oversold. Now, this may not be the absolute bottom of crypto or Bitcoin, but there was that small little tradable bounce, and I am seeing this bullish momentum that's building. However, it could take months for that to actually break to the upside. Stochastic RSI is low. I like that, but we're still technically downtrending in the price. So if there are very conservative investors or traders, want to see a little bit more evidence, because we're still technically in the downtrend. We're in the bottom side of it for a trade. Low, lower, high, low, lower, high, low. We're trying to make the lower high. We could get rejected because once we pull open these EMAs, if we have a flash rally up to the 50 EMA, which we just tried, 2.5 trillion or 2.7 trillion, we need to make sure we're not going to flash crash to dump down. That's the bad case scenario, because we're starting to consolidate here. It sort of looked like almost this symmetrical triangle, sort of, right? Boxing in like this, and we're starting to break bulls. So that's why I'm saying it looked like bullish, but if it rejects, if you know your bearish patterns, if it rejects below 2.45, we could actually be in trouble here. Because on a daily chart, the stochastic RSI is in the high range. We're not getting massive momentum on the daily chart. Only silver lining, the good thing that I'm looking at right now, is that it's in a very, very short-term downtrend approach in the price. Hourly up cross, we're trying to hold that support above 2.35 trillion. So translation of this into Bitcoin is medium time frame since October 2025, we are still in that downtrend. We just start to consolidate. We held above 63,000 for about a month or two, and we had that initial pop up to the upside. Now, what needs to happen for a bullish reversal momentum to continue is we cannot crash. We cannot pull back that severe. We need buyers, which there were buyers like strategy, hedge funds, institutions. They were buying this. Retail played that breakout. But we have to not fall below $68,000 or $66,000 Bitcoin. And that remains to be seen for March and April. I do like, however, that large momentum. It's going to take time. It will take time. The most recent time we had that large squeeze in the yellow, it took 50 to 60 days to break to the upside. That's basically 1 to 2 months to see if an uptrend is actually going to happen or not. Now, if we rewind a lot on Bitcoin, let's say we take a weekly approach. Weekly, this is only, I'm looking at Bitcoin Bitstamp since 2012, since 2015. Whenever Bitcoin hit the 200 weekly point and held and didn't crash. So this happened 1, 2, 3, It crashed in this time, so that doesn't really count. But we're in the fourth time right now. So that's why for me, I just on these, I actually longed crypto because I'm kind of aggressive like that. I counter trade. I like counter trading the market, but we need to just be. I'm going to be open-minded and sensible here. That yes, there was that 3 times we hit the 200 EMA on a weekly, and then after that, it took 1, 2, sometimes 3 years. We'll say 1 year, 1 to 2 years average to recover from that. So I'm very closely watching to see, is this real? Are we actually going to reverse here? Or is it dead cat bounce and we're about to crash? So it's risky for me. It's not financial advice, but I'm just trying to follow one of my strategies, the weekly strategy here. And so this time could be different. Why is it different now? Just a little bit of fundamental changes is there's so much government involvement. We hit all-time high prices for tech stocks, AI stocks, crypto, Bitcoin itself hit all-time highs. Altcoins hit all-time highs and pulled back. The question really right now is, do people have money to buy Bitcoin and crypto? If most people, at least in America, are having financial issues right now because of price increases and inflation in the past 5+ years, especially past 2-3 years, is Bitcoin even on people's mind right now? When we have this extreme fear in crypto and stocks, are people even wanting to buy? Institutions are buying now because it's low, 50, 40%, 50% off. That's pretty good if they're going to hold for 5, 10, 20 year time horizon. I'm just wondering, like the average person, the average adult, are they thinking about Bitcoin? I would guess probably not right now. Only if we see large green, meaning we need to see a large price increase, and then it's going to be all over the news, all over people's phones and social media. And then the average person is going to say, hey, maybe I should buy Bitcoin. But right now, it looks absolutely crazy to buy Bitcoin right now. But I bought some just because of the longer term technicals. But this time could be wrong. Honestly, it could be wrong this time because of so much government involvement and the macroeconomic and geopolitical changes happening in the market right now. That's the big analysis for Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum, do a couple cryptos, and then we close. Ethereum USD, starting on a weekly chart. Ethereum from one of its all-time highs is down negative 52%. Weekly RSI is just tapped 30 and then had a small bounce. Stochastic RSI oversold. I like how there's more momentum forming. However, price could still crash pretty significantly. Rewinding back to June 2022, it sort of looks like we're right here in June 2022. So we could keep crashing or falling 20, 30 more %, but then at some point, the price gets so low that experienced traders and investors or whales think we're actually discounted, and then they might start to buy that. So really, it needs to be triggered by the whales, not just by retail. Many large accounts need to just keep buying nonstop to hold the price up, or else we can continue crashing. So the daily chart, we are definitely in a downtrend. So right now is not the best time to buy. It's just an aggressive buy because we hit that low RSI on the oscillators, had that support above 1840. We had another support above 1933, and I'm wanting to see in the next 1 or 2 weeks, are we going to break above 2100 or no? That is the big question right now in Bitcoin. RSI sometimes is more important than stochastic RSI. On the 4-hour, we are making higher highs and higher lows very slowly. 1 hour is up cross, but it's very slow right now. People are being very cautious right now. Let's go to XRP USD. Similar, the price in the white. We are still downtrending pretty severe. Price down negative 60%, but we know crypto and altcoins can go down negative 80, negative 90%. And the death cross. Remember, if we are very conservative traders or investors, I need to wait for a golden cross because that means it's actually going up. Death cross means it's actually going down for now. There's reversals in the middle of there, but trying to time the reversal, I need to see a lot of evidence. So for now, the only evidence that I'm seeing on this chart is that we're holding the general support range above 135. Traders traded above 137, but it's starting to squeeze. It's starting to symmetrical triangle. I'm seeing visually here, something like this. This trend line could be more angled. So we're stuck. Taking the small average of that, maybe plus or minus 5%. So even the market is hesitating at this point. But are we at a low, super low spot of value? No, not really, because we just rejected below 142. So we need a little bit of a small reset to keep trying to make these higher highs, higher lows. We're barely holding above the pivot point of 139 for XRP. Solana, very similar. It could be this the weekend. People are just not feeling good. Consumer sentiment only went up very slightly right now, so in this month. Solana USD down negative 63%. We were holding above $77, so my support level was correct. Long that Solana. But right now, is it the perfect moment to buy right now at the making this video? I would say no. If there's any pullback, I might buy more. And again, I'm aggressive swing trader, so conservative people should not try to copy me at all. So if we hold above that $85 support, try to slowly make higher highs and higher lows, but we really need to break out above 90. This is the real spot up here. So we're just contracting right now. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, consider clicking like, subscribe, share this video with your family and your friends. Let's always remember risk management, emotional management, and we'll try to just run and execute our systems and our strategies. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.